Hello, mi gente, it's your boy Dio. Welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the Harley-Davidson's recently released Q2 results and their Q2 call that they had earlier this week. If you haven't heard anything about this and this is your first time listening to this or hearing about this topic, just kind of Google it real quick. I will leave a link to a document, not a document, but a website where I'm going to be discussing a lot of the topics in this video, but I'll leave that in the description below so you guys can kind of read up on it. But basically, long story short, there was a Q2 call, quarter two, from Harley, and they kind of re-emphasized and they kind of just went over their results for the quarter. Obviously, these were results during COVID, so they were pretty bad. And then they kind of talked about their new, I guess, plan. They're going to call it the, I'm reading it here, the Hardwire. But anyways, let's get right into it, guys. So, again, I'm going to be reading it right from the website. This is a Market Watch website. And it says Harley-Davidson shares, and it kind of just talks about the shares, how they fell. Basically, they lost 35 cents per share. Long story short, they're losing money everywhere, point blank. They lost a lot of money in Asia. Sales were down 10%. European markets were down 30%. Revenue fell 47% in the US. Again, this is during COVID when all of their, I'm assuming all of their dealerships were closed. Now, the company, it says here, the company is not offering guidance given the uncertainty created by the pandemic. Harley is planning a Rewire restructuring of its global operating model that will impact all areas of the business from commercial operations to center-led support functions. Now, that process will build to a 5-year plan, a new 5-year plan to be called the Hardwire. Building on our strong brand legacy, we are reinvigorating our core profit-driving business, powered by our strongest dealers, most exciting products, and careful inventory management, while focusing on the most important opportunities for future expansion. Now, the CEO stated that this plan includes 700 job cuts that were previously announced and a streamline of motorbike models by about 30%. So they're going to cut 700 jobs and they're going to streamline and reduce their models by 30%. The company will focus on about 50 markets in North America, Europe, Asia, and currently account for most of its volume and growth potential. The company is planning a marketing campaign featuring Aquaman actor Jason Momoa, which is, I don't know. The company expects to save over $250 million in cash in 2020 and to book a $42 million restructuring charge. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of this stuff, right? So, and before I get into that, just so you guys know where I'm coming from with this, I ride a 2018 Road Glide, right? So Harley-Davidson Road Glide. Before that, I had a 2015 Street Bob. And before that, my very first bike was actually a Harley-Davidson Street 750. The worst bike ever, but that's the one I had. So I've kind of progressed through basically all the models, or not all the models, but a lot of the segments in Harley. Not only that, but I have a background in marketing from school. I did a lot of, actually that was my undergrad degree. And for work, what I do outside of YouTube and Instagram, I'm actually a business consultant. So all I look at is numbers. I look at data, and I help businesses react to that data in positive ways that are going to drive them sales, right? So I'm kind of looking at this just from a business perspective, right? But also I have my own, obviously, bias towards it because I ride Harley-Davidson, right? So let's talk about this. Obviously, during the pandemic, they were closed, right? So this affected them severely. Because of it, they have to do something to kind of close that gap, right? So it says they have and I'm going to read it here, they have a $92 million deficit, which they have to make up after a profit of $196 million. So basically, if you take a profit of $196 million to now a loss of 92, you almost have to make up $300 million to get back to that same spot. That's a lot of money, right? So that's why in the end, they actually say they're going to save $250 million in cash just in 1 year. So anyway, so with their new 5-year plan, they're looking at the Hardwire program, which is, let's talk about the jobs, right? So let me backtrack a little bit, right? So because of COVID, again, this was during COVID, We all knew a lot of companies were going to go under because they're closed. Basically, there's external factors you can't really control, right? So to mitigate that, they're actually going to cut jobs, right? So now I'm assuming the 700 jobs cuts are going to be coming from those markets that they're coming out of, right? So they did say they're going to exit some markets and only going to focus on their main core markets, which is probably North America, Canada, and a little bit of Europe and Asia, maybe, right? So who knows? But even still, it says they're going to focus on their strongest dealers, right? So there's a lot of dealers even in my area, New York, that are pretty popular and pretty strong, but there might be dealers out there that just don't get any sales or any traffic or anything like that. So that's going to be interesting, right? So the company's trying to save money, obviously, so you're going to start cutting back. That's the first thing companies do when they're trying to save. They cut back on operations. They let go of employees, right? So, which is all whatever. It is what it is. But when you're saying that you're going to reduce models by 30%, here's how that rings in my head, right? So yes, there are models that really don't sell. Then there's models that sell but not as much, so there is some fat to trim there, right? So the only problem I see with that, right, is that if you're cutting 30%, right, so even if you cut 30% of the models, that's probably, I mean, they have, how many bikes do they have? I don't know, like 20, right? So if they cut let's say 3 or 4 models done, those 3 or 4 models still netted you, let's say, I don't know, let's just give a hypothetical number, $10 million in sales, right? Out of those 3 or 4 models. If you're going to get rid of them, you still have to make up that $10 million, right? Where are you going to get that money from, right? So are you going to reinvest and increase production? I know they're still coming out with the Pan America. I don't know about the Bronx. He did mention the Pan America in the call, so that is still coming out in 2021. So I guess they're assuming they're going to make some of that money with that, but you still have to make that money up, right? So it's just kind of business sense, right? So if you make 10 million from even the slowest movers, you still have to kind of replace that with something else, all right? So that's my take on that. Now, talking about this marketing campaign with Aquaman actor Jason Momoa, I mean, now I'm putting my marketing hat on. Who are they targeting, right? Harley-Davidson knows that their core demographic is a lot older now, right? So maybe 20, 30 years ago, it was the 40 to 50-year-old blue-collar worker. It's almost like a cult, really, to be honest with you. It reminds me of like Starbucks, where people pay, $10 for a cup of coffee. Like, people do pay 40 grand for a motorcycle. It happens, guys. I know it blows your mind, some of you other brand enthusiasts like Triumph or even the sport bikes, where you can get a sport bike for 3,000 or 4,000. People pay a pretty penny for Harley. It's crazy. But anyways, let me go back. So using Jason Momoa, so it kind of leaves me a little bit confused, right? So now so let's think about Jason, right? So Jason has tattoos. He's, very fit guy. He's probably in his, I would say, upper 30s, low 40s, maybe. I don't know. Let's just say upper 30s. So that's who they're targeting. Forget about the name. You're looking at fit, tattoos, and upper 30s. That's who they're targeting. But was that the best choice, really? Aquaman actor? I don't think so. I really don't, So their marketing team needs to really figure things out, because there's a lot better ways to go about this situation. A lot of my buddies, and we've been talking about this as well, we all agree that influencers are the way to go. You get an influencer that really has a pull in the category or in the platform, and basically you're good to go. You're going to drive sales. So I don't know. That's just my take on the marketing part. It kind of leaves me a little bit confused, and I just don't know where they're going with this. Obviously it does show that they know that their core demographic and their core buyer, Harley buyer, is definitely gone. Basically, they're just done. Those baby boomers are way older. They're probably buying trikes right now if they can still ride. I don't know. So a lot more younger people are getting into Harley now. So let me get into also, let's kind of skip marketing a little bit. They said, okay, strongest dealers, more exciting products, right? So what else can you really come out that's more exciting? I just don't know. I mean, I don't know if you guys seen that booklet. It's huge. So I don't really get that part. And then careful inventory management, that makes no sense, because when you go to a dealership anyways and try to get a part, at least in my experience, 9 times out of 10, they don't have that part. They have to order it. So I don't know how they're going to better manage inventory. I guess they're going to have more inventory in stock so that people don't have to wait. Maybe that'll be cool. That'll be good to see. I just don't know. But anyways, guys, so really the main point of all this is we're uncertain of what's going to happen to Harley. We have no idea that this plan is going to work. This is coming from a CEO that's been on the board for, 7 years. He comes from a sneaker industry. And in the interim, I mean, he has to basically deal with COVID as a aftermath, basically. And a lot of companies are having to do that same thing, where how do you get yourself out of this deep hole you're in? How do you do it? And this is basically a plan, 5-year plan that kind of outlines that I guess pulling out or digging yourself out of that hole. But is it enough? I don't know. I really don't. So we shall see. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to watch. And like I said before, it's one of those things where you either do it right and get out of it, or you do it wrong and just keep digging yourself into a deeper hole. And right now, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. They really need to revamp their marketing. They need to really figure out which models to really remove, because when they got rid of the Dyna, that was a loved platform. That got rid of it, and they got rid of it, and now the Softail is there. Fine, Softail is good too. But then I heard they're gonna get rid of the Deluxe. Are you kidding me? The Deluxe is super popular, especially in the West Coast. Like, come on. I don't know. But at the end of the day, I mean, probably those sales aren't there because a lot of people, including myself, we buy used. And the reason for that is because Harley retains its value so well. So, I mean, come on, guys. Like, you're coming out with a bike almost every year that looks exactly the same as the year before. That's like buying the same iPhone over and over again. I just don't get it, guys. It makes no sense to me. Let's see, what bikes can I think of that looks the same? You put a Street Glide from 2020 next to a Street Glide from, let's say, 2001, 2002. They look almost identical. Yeah, they're going to upgrade some of the tech. The motor's different. Fine. But other than that, it's just basically identical. So a lot of people buy used and they do their own thing with it. I mean, nobody ever stays with a stock Harley. I've never met anyone that does that. So why not give us a Harley that maybe is stripped down, because all the parts suck anyways. We're paying 40 grand for a CVO that's top performance, and you still have to add another 10 grand to, like, in parts and accessories. That makes no sense. And that, I think, is part of the failure. I think that's where you guys are lacking. And I say you guys, I'm talking to Harley, if you guys are listening. But why not give us a reduction in price, one, because that's the biggest hurdle that everyone is talking about, and then maybe focus a little bit more on the performance side of things, where don't just give us crappy suspension. Give us legends. Put legends on the bike, and call it a true CVO that doesn't need anything. Like, when you buy a CVO on top of the line, you shouldn't have to go buy bars, suspension, better floorboards. Like, come on, like, that makes no sense. I did hear that they were going to allow you to modify your bike before purchase. I don't know what that's going to look like, but that should be interesting. But yeah, anyways, look, I see the minutes is getting up to 15. It's going to be a long video, so I apologize if it took too long. But anyways, guys, that's my opinion. Those are my thoughts on what Harley should do. If you agree on anything, you know, as you're listening to this video, comment down below what your thoughts are. What do you think Harley should do? And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. So see you on the next one. Peace out.